Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Sarasati Devi Kauravani Precharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasati Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome everyone to our ongoing study of the third canto Srimad Bhagavatam. We're at Kapila Siksha, today chapter number 28. And this is, of course, at the level of Bhakti Vaibhava. Okay, so who would like to share? Please share with me something. What did you learn yesterday, Chandrika Mataji? Sri Ram Nitai Prabhu can tell us something you heard yesterday?
Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. So yesterday we saw that we have to develop a relationship with our Guru, so that will help us in developing the friendship with the Lord.
Friendship with the Lord.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So to develop the friendship with our spiritual master, who is the external manifestation of the Paramatma.
Yes, right. Spiritual master's the external manifestation of Paramatma. And we have to consider Paramatma as what? The best friend, right? Of course, Paramatma is also the proprietor, supreme proprietor, the supreme enjoyer. We shouldn't think the spiritual master is the supreme proprietor, the supreme enjoyer. Right? We'd be challenged if the spiritual master tries to take the position of the supreme proprietor and the supreme enjoyer. That would be difficult. But we should think of him as a friend, yes. Our ever well-wisher. Prabhupada used to say, right? He used to sign his letters, your ever well-wisher. So that's the kind of friendship you want. Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Maharaj, may I say?
Yes, please, Prabhu.
Maharaj, one very interesting thing I learned yesterday, that it is mixed devotional service when we are doing a devotional service for even our personal spiritual benefit. And secondly, the pure devotional service is only that service which we are rendering for satisfying Krishna. There is no material benefit, there is no spiritual benefit, and there is no tinge of any personal desires. It is only for the satisfaction and the happiness of Krishna.
Yes, very nice. Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice. Very important point. Yes. We also learned... Yes, Prabhu? Yes?
Yes, I just want to say, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. So I remember that we spoke about bhakti, that is like direct process, and the indirect process, we can also go to the Lord, but if we doesn't go to the process of bhakti, we will be not successful.
Right.
And also that the devotee is doesn't disturbed by material circumstances. He is because he is engaged in the devotional service, and therefore he is not touched by these circumstances influencing.
Right. He can be in the material world but still be a liberated soul.
Yes.
Because his body, mind and words is all for the service of Krishna. Okay, so we're going to go on today to chapter 28. Is everyone able to see? Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, can I make one point?
Sorry?
Can I just make one point?
Yes, please.
To discuss? Please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, we spoke about how did Arjuna give up his proprietorship. So we said he followed Krishna's instructions. So we have to do what Krishna wants. And the second point, the cure for polluted consciousness is dedicated devotional service.
What was that point about dedicated devotional service?
Yes, the cure for polluted consciousness is dedicated devotional service.
Okay. Yes, the cure for polluted consciousness is dedicated devotional service. Right? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct, Maharaj, yes.
Because the voice is breaking a little still. All right, yes, and we spoke, the chapter also emphasizes about the contamination in the heart, which is due to Icha and Dvesha, the desire ourselves to be God and envious of God. That desire to actually challenge Krishna, take Krishna's position. Okay, so we'll go ahead. Let's see. Slideshow. Yeah. All right, so Kapila's instructions on the execution of devotional service. First, the connection with the previous chapter. So in the previous chapter, it was recommended how the devotee must bring the mind under full control. Now, Lord Kapila will elaborate on the yoga system known as Ashtanga Yoga, which is part of Vaishnava practice, because its ultimate goal is to concentrate the mind on the Lord. So there's an interesting statement from Srila Prabhupada that Ashtanga Yoga is part of Vaishnava practice. Of course, what we see today, the commercial form of Ashtanga Yoga is simply asanas. And sometimes they get into pranayama. But practically there's no mention about yam and niyama. And there's no mention also about the pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. They simply talk on the third level and the fourth level. The asana and the pranayama. Pranayama is not much also. But Prabhupada explains here, this is Vaishnava practice. But it is meant to bring us to concentrate the mind on the Lord. So this is an important point. Bringing the mind under full control. That was emphasized in the previous chapter. So we're going to hear how we can do that through Ashtanga Yoga, bringing the mind under full control. So the first section of the chapter, first 12 texts, describe the different limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, the preliminary yoga practice for attaining devotional service. And then goes in, slokas 13 to 18 will give the description of the Lord's form, That's overall form, seeing the Lord as a whole. But 19 to 33, we'll hear about meditation on the individual limbs of the Lord. Now, usually, Prabhupada points out, he said, when people meditate on the Lord, they will meditate on the different limbs of the Lord. So first of all, they give the description of the overall form, and then you get the description of the individual limbs. Of course, beginning from the lotus feet. And then, the end of the chapter, we'll hear about the results of fixed meditation on the Lord. So this is the overview of the chapter. Okay, so the first 12 texts. Would someone like to read for me, please?
Lord Kapila, the personality of Godhead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. Lord Kapila, the personality of Godhead, who is the highest authority on yoga, here explains the yoga system known as Ashtanga Yoga. Even Patanjali explains that the target of all yoga is Vishnu. Ashtanga Yoga is therefore part of Vaishnava practice because its ultimate goal is realization of Vishnu.
All right, so Patanjali is generally considered the Acharya in the yoga school. His famous book is the Yoga Sutras. And the Yoga Sutras generally, it's a lot of impersonalism with a little glimmer of Vishnu there. a little bit. It's not very clear. It's like Patanjali was almost afraid to actually reveal the truth. And he speaks more about the impersonal aspects. But Patanjali Yoga Sutras is popular. Okay, there's a bit more, yes? And go ahead, Prabhu, and keep reading.
Okay. The achievement of success in yoga is not a position of mystic power, which is condemned in the previous chapter, but rather freedom from all material designations and situation in one's constitutional position. That is the ultimate achievement in yoga practice.
Yes, in the previous chapter, I think it's in the final text of the chapter, Srila Prabhupada talks about the byproducts of yoga. Does anyone know what the byproducts of yoga are?
Yeah, siddhis, the mystic achievements, like to become smaller than the smallest, larger than the largest,
Yes.
heavier than the heaviest, lighter than the lightest.
Yes, very good, right. That's the byproducts, right? We're not concerned about the byproducts. We're interested what's the real goal, the ultimate achievement in yoga practice. What are we trying to achieve? And what we really want to achieve is to concentrate the mind, fix the mind on Lord Vishnu. Prabhupada mentions here, he said, freedom from all material designations and situation in one's constitutional position. Freedom from all material designations, that's something similar to Rupa Goswami's definition of pure devotional service, where he talks about upadi, sarvupadi vinirmuktam, tatparat vena nirmalam, Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhaktir Uchate. Right? Sarvupadi Vinirmuktam. Upadis mean designations. So here it's also mentioned by Prabhupada in this purport to the first verse. Freedom from all material designations and situation in one's constitutional position. In other words, we should know what is our actual situation, our position in relation to Vishnu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us Jivar Swarupahai Nitya Krishna Das. That we're all Krishna Das. We're all servants of Krishna. That is our constitutional position. So that is the ultimate achievement in yoga practice. Okay, here's a little exercise which you can do. How many people do we have here in the class today?
17.
Minus 2, 15, Maharaj.
15, okay. Okay, so you can have one group of 3 and then there'll be pairs. 7, that means 7 groups.
Okay.
Right? So you want to discuss for every item in the yoga system, there is a parallel activity in Bhakti Yoga. But the practice of Bhakti Yoga is easier for this age. That's from text 11, purport. So we want you to identify the yoga practices prescribed in this section. First 12 verses, you have to identify the yoga practices and then discuss how each of them has a parallel in Bhakti Yoga. All right? You have to look at the text, the yoga practices which are prescribed. And then, what is the parallel in Bhakti Yoga?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, can I ask a question, please?
All right, please.
Just regarding our previous discussion, the previous chapter, the last verse, where it says that the yogi wants to achieve, become smaller than the smallest or greater than the greatest, or even create their own planet. Now, when one achieves this, is it a gradual elevation on the part of bhakti, or if one desires this as a yogi?
No. It's mentioned they're byproducts of yoga. One does not desire these. They don't. Okay. The yogi doesn't desire them. The real goal of yoga, Prabhupada explained, freedom from all material designations and understanding our constitutional position.
Okay.
These yoga powers, these are not desired. But it's understood that pure devotees, very great devotees, they will have these powers, but they won't show them. They won't use them.
I see. Thank you, Maharaj. But just as a by the way question, if one does desire this and they achieve it, they get the result of karmic reaction?
Well, it depends how they use it. If they desire, you desire something, that's a material desire. Then certainly you're going to get some kind of reaction for it. You desired it, it means you want to use it, you're going to do something with it. And you do something, you get something from someone, you've got karma, you're indebted to them, you have to pay them back. Right? You take something from someone, just like Indra took blessings from people to get rid of his sinful reactions. So we have to be very careful about taking things from other people. It becomes an obligation. You have to pay them back.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
All right, so we'll just give you 5 minutes to think about these things. See if you can come up with some answers.
We have to do this exercise in groups or individually, Maharaj?
You should have a partner.
But we are not having a group actually. We are all individually.
Oh, okay. So nobody's here to put you into pairs. So I don't know how to do it.
No. Shall I create a group, Maharaj?
Yeah, pairs. Right. We want 7. There should be there's 15 here. So 7 groups.
Okay, I'm going to create. And how many minutes, Maharaj?
7.
And,
No,
and
how
Maharaj,
many?
Huh?
and Maharaj, which, sorry to interrupt, which group has to do which text number?
You have to do the whole thing. Each of you have.
Okay, Maharaj, I'm creating. It's for 5 minutes? Or
Yes,
7?
5
How
minutes.
many?
Yeah.
5 minutes. Okay, okay.
Chandrika Maharaji, are you there?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I don't know why I'm with Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Group with you. Or,
Yes. Are you familiar with the text? Have you looked at the text?
no, I didn't have time yesterday, Maharaj, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
And so I have to read it.
So there are 12 texts. You don't have to read all 12. You just look through the text. You don't need the purport. Just see the text. The main points are in the text.
Okay.
So, you can read text number.
Okay.
So you read the text. Pick out the what ones you think you can do in bhakti. What's a parallel activity in bhakti? Just like asanas, yoga asanas. What do we do? Any asanas in bhakti? Do we get any? Do you get any? Huh?
Maybe when we chant Hare Krishna.
Why? Yeah, you jump up and down, dance back and forward, and also offer obeisances. Right? That's asanas. What about pranayama, breathing? Do you get breathing exercise?
And when we dance also.
Huh?
When we chant and when we dance also.
When you chant, right? When you do your chanting, yeah. Pranayama. What about the austerities? They have regulations in yoga, the yoga practice, yama niyam. Do we have that in bhakti yoga?
Yes, of course, we have 4 regulated
Right.
principles
Yes.
and
Right.
what
Yeah.
we should do is to chant 16 rounds.
Yes.
Minimum.
Yeah. And what about meditation on the Lord?
Of course, we read about the Lord, about His pastimes. We discuss Srimad Bhagavatam.
Meditation on mantra, meditation on Archa Vigraha.
Yes, the deity worship, right. The deity worship, that is where we meditate on the Lord more. Yes, meditation on the form of the Lord and the deity worship. Okay, so you can see the parallels, the different activities. All right? Oh. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I think we can close the groups, bring everybody back.
Okay, it will take 10 seconds, sir.
Yeah. Okay, everyone's back?
Yes, Maharaj, all back.
Yes, Maharaj.
Oh, good. Okay, so? What?
Maharaj, you're unaudible.
I'm not audible? I'm not muted.
He's audible to everyone else, I think.
Yes, I can hear also.
Okay, so have you got some answers? What are some parallel activities in Bhakti Yoga and in Ashtanga Yoga?
Recording in progress.
The first verse, Maharaj, speaks about the yogi's objective is to concentrate the mind. So we have that opportunity to achieve that every time we chant japa. That's what we're trying to do. So that's covered there just by our vow to chant the holy name. So to concentrate the mind. So that's
okay. Very good. Yes, we concentrate the mind. We concentrate our mind by chanting the holy name. The Ashtanga Yogi, how do they concentrate the mind?
I think it mentions later by meditating upon the form of Vishnu.
Yeah, maybe silent meditation, yes.
Yeah, Ashtanga silent meditation.
All right, somebody else? Let's hear something else.
Yeah, Maharaj, may I speak?
Please.
Yeah, second to fourth basically refers to the yam and niyam. Yam basically corresponds to the don'ts and niyam corresponds to the do's of devotional service. So don'ts are basically the 4 regulative principles like no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling and no intoxication. And the do's is basically doing the regular chanting of 16 rounds without any offense.
Yes. Any other things we do? We're supposed to...
Like Shravanam and Kirtanam, and then doing deity worship, and then doing Vaishnav Seva.
Okay, yeah, many things, right. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj?
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Yeah, I think so. Like we do Swa Dharma Charanam. In that we have these material body. There are various duties prescribed. Like the system is divided into 4 orders, social orders: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So in this, it means one must discharge the prescribed duties of the particular division of society faithfully to the best of their ability. So it is parallel to bhakti as like everyone in this, they should do it. They should do their prescribed duties as in order to serve the Lord. So, like, in order to serve the Lord, that is the main execution of Swadharma.
So you're saying everyone's all the devotee in Bhakti Yoga, they're all on the spiritual platform.
No, all this system, everything like Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra should follow their duties in order to serve the Lord. That is their actual duty. To become advanced in Krishna consciousness.
But we don't have that in Krishna consciousness. We don't have Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. We don't divide people like that. Everyone is servant of Krishna.
Yes, that's what I mean. I mean, everyone should aim in one, to serve the Lord.
All right, everyone should serve the Lord. Yes, that's right. Because devotees are all engaging in bhakti yoga. They're on the transcendental platform. We're not following varnashram dharma like that. We don't divide the devotees, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. We do whatever is necessary. Sometimes you have to clean the toilet, sometimes you have to worship the deity. Sometimes you cook. There's so many different duties to be done. You have to keep accounts. We have to do everything. Not everything. Prabhupada.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
My main aim is that they should, that's what I said, everyone should aim in serving the Lord.
Okay, yes. And do they do that also? That's also there in Ashtanga Yoga, huh?
Yes, Maharaj.
They're also serving the Lord. They do, of course, according to Varnashram. They have their duty according to Varnashram.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Right, someone else? Murari Prabhu, have you got any point?
Yes, Maharaj. In the text 5, it was about when one must observe silence. So in Krishna consciousness, we are practicing in that way that we are not speaking anything expect Krishna consciousness. So we are glorifying the Lord and speaking about the devotional service, devotees, and like this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, how did Prabhupada describe silence? Prabhupada said silence is the chanting of Hare Krishna. He said that is silence, that is real silence, when they're chanting Hare Krishna. Okay, so the parallel is there, all right. Sriman Nitai Prabhu? No, you had your hand up, you already answered, yeah?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes?
In verse number 8, it talks about always residing in a
Sorry?
secluded place. So it is always residing in a secluded place.
Sorry.
It talks about always residing in a secluded place.
Oh. So how do we do that in Bhakti Yoga?
So in Bhakti Yoga, we always talk about living in holy places.
Living in holy places. Okay. Yes?
With the association of devotees.
Yes, right. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. And then also, Rathashri, who is it? Can't read, I have to put my glasses on. Okay. Rao Shekhar Das.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj. We have been in group and we have divided 3%. And so I mean, for last 4 verses and verse number 11, they have talked about pranayama. And they say that by concentration of mind, one is free from sins and free from 3 modes of material nature. So by doing the Krishna consciousness, we are at the transcendental level. We are also, when we do pure devotional service, we can elevate ourselves at the transcendental level. And verse number 12, they say you have to concentrate on the nose. This means you have to close your eyes half closed, so we can do chanting in a better way. Not if we close the eyes, then we can. And if we open eyes fully, then we just Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Yes, generally when we talk about pranayama, we think the parallel activity in Bhakti Yoga, we think it more might be chanting Hare Krishna. Of course, Prabhupada, they say there, by doing pranayama, you destroy sin. So chanting Hare Krishna also destroys sin, same effect. But chanting Hare Krishna is very quick. Pranayama, do pranayama, take a long time. But chanting Hare Krishna, you have to also breathe. There's some regulation there in the breathing, chanting Hare Krishna. All right, what about the asanas? What's the parallel activity in Bhakti Yoga? Nobody told me the parallel activity for asanas.
Kirtan, Raj, isn't it?
Huh?
Up and down, kirtan.
Kirtan.
Up and down.
Well, sometimes you just sit down and do kirtan. Is that asana?
Yeah, that's an asana as well, isn't it?
Okay. If you sit properly, sit like a yogi, yeah. And if you're dancing, then you get a lot of exercise. Yes, good. Anything else for asanas? I thought offering obeisances. We give obeisances. You go into the temple room, you give obeisances, you offer a flower, you give obeisances, we meet devotees, we bow down to each other. We do a lot of obeisances, especially if you go in the holy dham, you go around the holy places, we give obeisances to the trees and so many things. So offering obeisances is one way of doing our asanas, parallel activity. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, but
you say also sitting down and doing deity worship, for example?
Sit down and do deity worship?
Yes.
Yes, okay. But what is the purpose of deity worship? And when we sit down to do deity worship, then we concentrate the mind. We have to concentrate the mind that we're giving personal service to the Lord. The Lord is personally there in the deity. So contemplating the Lord, that is also there in Ashtanga Yoga, the meditation on the Lord. So we do that through the deity worship. So in this way you can see the parallel between the different activities. Okay, is everybody okay with this? Okay.
Maharaj, what will be the for pratyahara and dharana?
Pratyahara and dharana, well, they're stages of meditation, right? Pratyahara is internalizing everything, not looking at the external objects, but internalizing one's consciousness, contemplating within. So in Bhakti Yoga, we could contemplate ourselves as a spirit soul, understanding we're not the body, detachment from the material body, right? Controlling the senses is certainly there in Bhakti Yoga. He has to control the senses. Of course, our process of controlling the senses is to use the senses in the service of Krishna, rather than stopping the senses. We want to use the senses in the service of Krishna.
So, pratyahara, dharana and dhyan, they will basically correspond to having the meditation on the Supreme Lord.
Yes, I think so.
And samadhi also, Maharaj?
Well, samadhi, fixed mind, right? Fixed mind. You can be in samadhi. Work now, samadhi now, right? We can be in samadhi, distributing Prabhupada's books and chanting Hare Krishna. You can be in samadhi. We can be in samadhi, cooking for Krishna. Devotees in samadhi everywhere. We don't have to just sit down in samadhi. We can be active in the service of Krishna and be in samadhi. The mind is fixed on Krishna. We're doing it for Krishna, for Krishna's pleasure. So that is samadhi, fixed mind.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. So, all right, we'll come back to the PowerPoint here. Here you can see we've mentioned the different stages. Would someone like to read them for me, please? Somebody can read first Yam and Niyam.
Yama, non-violence, truthfulness, not stealing, not accepting more than necessary, celibacy and silence. Niyama, follow one's duties of varnashram, avoid forbidden duties, constant thought of liberation, eat pure food in moderated quantities, live in a secluded and peaceful place, austerity, cleanliness, study of Vedas and worship of the Supreme Lord.
Yes, good. Right? So this is what you get actually if you check in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. These things are all mentioned there. And because Patanjali Yoga Sutras are talking about this Astanga Yoga. And these points are all mentioned there. Very similar. Just different language. But same meaning. Alright, then pranayama. Someone read? Read pranayama and the benefit.
Control the breath, purify the passage for prana by practice of kumbhaka, puraka, and rechaka, so that the mind becomes steady and pure.
Right, kumbhaka. That's talking about the different stages of breathing. One is inhaling, one is exhaling, and rechaka is keeping the mind, keeping the air empty, keeping the you're not breathing at all. So one is inhaling, one is exhaling, and one is not breathing at all. Different stages of the passage of the prana. So this is pranayama. Prabhupada would often refer to the pranayama as the nose-pressing yoga. The nose-pressing yoga, because you put your thumb on one side of the nose and press the nostril and breathe in the other nostril, right? And then what you do, then you release it, and then you press on the other side of the nose, and then breathe in the other nostril, like that. So Prabhupada goes, the nose-pressing yoga, pranayama. And the benefit, the doshas of the body are destroyed. The doshas mean the faults, right? The impurities in the body are destroyed. Do you have any doshas? Doshas, the faults. All right, go ahead. Pratyahara. Someone read.
Hare Krishna. Withdraw the senses from material objects and turn them towards the heart using the mind. Benefit. Association with sense objects is destroyed.
Right. Association with the sense objects is destroyed because you're not looking at things around you. You're looking within. So this is described in Bhagavad Gita in different places. Krishna talks about how the yogi contemplates within and feels peaceful, contemplating within. He's not thinking about what's around him. So this pratyahara, turning away from the world. For a devotee, of course, we don't turn away from the world, we just use it for Krishna. Just the difference. Remember the example, the rose. Okay, go ahead. Dharana. Someone read?
Fix the prana at one spot among the various chakras by the mind. Meditate on the Supreme Lord by looking at the tip of the nose.
Benefit?
Benefits. Sins are destroyed.
Okay. So, dharana. Fix the prana, right? That prana, that energy, that air which is within at one spot among the various chakras by the mind. There's different chakras in the body, right? We have, I think, is it 6 different chakras in the body? You begin from the navel up, going up to the top of the head. So you can fix on one of the chakras, fix the prana there. Then meditate on the Supreme Lord by looking at the tip of the nose. Not very inspiring, is it? Look at the tip of the nose. It's so nice to look at the deities. You look at the tip of the nose, it's not... All right, then dhyana, meditation.
Dhyana, meditation on the individual limbs of the Lord and on the pastimes of the spiritual world. Benefit, uncontrollable qualities are destroyed.
Yes. So, in the when you do the meditation, you should meditate on the individual limbs, right? You begin from the lotus feet, and then gradually you can look up. And go ahead, Samadhi, one more. Who would like to read?
Samadhi. Then he attains Samadhi of the mind. When the mind becomes detached from all material objects, the mind suddenly gets destroyed. Having destroyed the misconceptions of his body, he sees his Atma without coverings. Thus, he is situated in his own position, beyond happiness and distress.
Jai, this Samadhi. Mind becomes detached from all material objects. Mind suddenly gets destroyed. Destroyed the misconception of the body. He sees the Atma, sees the soul without coverings. We don't have the body anymore. We got rid of the body, we got rid of the gross body and the subtle body, and he's situated in his own position, his spiritual position. All right, here you can see nice diagram given by Patanjali, Yoga Sutras. Well, you can see the different stages: Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. All right, this is from Bhagavad Gita. Okay, we'll go ahead. We're going to look at this next section, 13 to 18, description of the Lord's form. Identified. Yes?
Sorry, my apologies, Maharaj. I just have a quick question since we went through that list. Can I ask?
Okay, yeah.
Right, going through that list, it kind of made me think about two things. Devotees, I know of devotees, even senior devotees, sometimes practice this breathing exercises, or they do this one form of healing called Reiki for their body, which they say helps them, in terms of keeping the body healthy, so that they can perform the devotional service.
What do they call it? Reiki?
Reiki healing.
Reiki,
yes,
yeah.
Some form of. I know even at our medical center, because at our one temple we have different aspects, and one aspect is medical center where they offer Reiki healing and meditation to the public. So I wanted to know Maharaj's thoughts on devotees practicing these type of things. Ultimately, the intention is to have a stronger body to serve Krishna. Just one other thing I wanted to mention, like when we do the Bhakti Yoga Society programs at universities, to attract students to the classes, the devotee would come first, do some yoga and breathing, and then we would have a talk on Krishna consciousness and then a bit of kirtan. So it's kind of a draw card, using this aspect to draw people in. So I want to know Maharaj's thoughts on those two things: devotees in this practice, and then also attracting people using this as a tool to attract new people.
Well, it's up to every individual. There is variety. There is some variety there in Krishna consciousness. And we often use yoga ourselves to attract people. When I first went into China, we were using yoga to attract people. Even today, a lot of our preaching is done in yoga studios. We don't do the yoga ourselves, but we introduce them to kirtan. We simply introduce the kirtan. We go to and the kirtan. Our kirtan is very popular in yoga studios all over the world. If someone's a good kirtanier, he will be often invited to yoga studios to perform kirtan, and bring the bhajan band or the kirtan band along to the yoga studio and do kirtan for all the yogis. And so it's a nice place to preach. People are generally in the mode of goodness. They're open-minded and willing to hear about Krishna. and they enjoy the kirtan. So we're not against yoga. As it says here, the Ashtanga yoga is part of the Vedic culture, but the whole purpose of it is to bring people to contemplate on Lord Vishnu. So if you can bring people to Vishnu, to Krishna consciousness by it, then good. Reiki, well, if people use it, they have to go out on book distribution, they have to work for Krishna. If the Reiki is helping them, certainly better than taking a lot of Western medicine. Yeah. Leave it to the individual. Everyone has to deal with their own body. We all have our own bodies and we have problems. We have to deal with the body, the different needs of the body, and what's required to keep the body fit and healthy. So if Reiki helps them to keep going in devotional service, I don't think it's a big problem. Just, of course, you should understand it's material, it's not spiritual. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, one small point may I ask regarding the previous slide which you were discussing regarding Samadhi.
Yes?
Maharaj, very interestingly you said that when we are doing Srila Prabhupada book distribution, when we are doing deity worship, whenever we are engaged in the service of the Lord, we are to be considered in Samadhi. And Samadhi is a very beautiful stage where mind is dissolved and one can see his Atma. But how to understand that when I have been distributing the books or doing some service, I am not able to see Atma, or I am not able to dissolve my mind because my mind is a troublesome entity.
Well, you have to understand, you have to see through the eyes of scriptures. Real vision is not just using your eye, your physical eye, but real vision is to see through the eye of the scriptures. And so you can see the Atma through the eye of the scriptures. That's good.
Okay, Maharaj. And how to understand the dissolution of the mind, because mind is the biggest culprit.
Well, we use the mind. We can use the mind to elevate ourselves also.
Okay, Maharaj.
It's how we use the mind. Everything depends on the attitude. If you're in control of your mind, you can use it to elevate yourself, to be Krishna conscious.
Understood, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
We use the mind to think of Krishna, to remember Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
All right, text 13 to 18, description of the Lord's form. We want, maybe we'll just read these texts ourselves. Let's go to the, we'll go to the text and read them ourselves, 13 to 18. We can read them together. Okay, text number 13 to 18. Let's see. 12, 13. Yes? Would someone like to read 13 for us?
Krishna Maharaj. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has a cheerful lotus-like countenance with ruddy eyes.
Yes, ruddy eyes.
Like the interior of a lotus, and a swarthy body like the petals of a blue lotus. He bears a conch, discus, and mace in 3 of his hands.
All right, so that's a description of the form of the Lord. In the purport, I marked a little section, I'll just read it to you. Those who are attracted to the impersonal or void features of meditation have to undergo a difficult process because we are not accustomed to concentrating our minds upon anything impersonal. Actually, such concentration upon anything such concentration is not even possible. Bhagavad Gita also confirms that one should concentrate his mind on the personality of Godhead. All right? So we're hearing about the form of the personality of Godhead. We should be conversant. What does the Lord look like? What is his form? So text 14 goes on. Someone please read text 14.
His lions are covered by a shining cloth, yellowish like the filaments of a lotus. On his breast, he bears the mask of Srivatsa, a curl of white hair. The brilliant Kaustubha gem is suspended from his neck.
All right, so some of the unique features on the body of the Lord, the Srivatsa mark and the Kaustubha gem, they're not found on anybody else. That's how we can recognize the Lord. In Vaikuntha, if you go to Vaikuntha, there are many people with 4 arms, and they all have, many have Swarupya Mukti, they have forms similar to the Lord, but they don't have Srivatsa or Kaustubha. That's how you know who is the Lord. Right? Go ahead, text 15, someone else read.
He also wears around his neck a garland of attractive silent flowers, and a swarm of bees, intoxicated by its delicious fragrance, hums about the garland. He is further superbly adorned with a pearl necklace, a crown, and a pair of armlets, bracelets, and anklets. All right. So we're hearing about the description of the Lord. First, he has a garland, and then the purport, Prabhupada explains about the nature of the flowers which are on the garland of the Supreme Lord. He says they're always fresh. Could you imagine that? The flowers are always fresh. Oh, it's so wonderful. You get fresh flowers all the time. They don't decay because they're spiritual. So they retain their originality. They never fade. Very wonderful. I don't know what they do with all the flowers. They never fade. we always throw so many flowers after they get a little old, a day old. They have to throw them away and get new flowers every day. Change the flowers. But in the spiritual world, the flowers are always fresh. Everything. Oh, this is Prabhupada's purport. Everything taken from everything remains everything. Or, as has been stated in the spiritual world, 1 minus 1 equals 1. And 1 plus 1 equals 1. All right, who can explain this for me? Who's going to explain this for me? Everything taken from everything remains everything. How is it possible?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Let me try. Maharaji, if Krishna expands himself as a Balram, but Krishna still remains same, then Balram expands again in Chatur form, and Balram still remains. So 1 minus 1 equal to 1.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, can I
Yes, please, go ahead, Maharaji.
Like in an ocean, if you take out a drop from the ocean, then also the ocean remains. I mean, you will call it, ocean remains the same, that way.
Yes, okay. So Krishna plus everything is equal to? Krishna plus everything is equal to? Krishna, right. And Krishna minus everything is equal to?
Krishna.
Yes. We call this spiritual mathematics. Right? Go ahead, text number 16.
His lions and hips encircled by a girdle. He stands on the lotus of his devotee's heart. He is most charming to look at, and his serene aspect gladdens the eyes and souls of the devotees who behold him.
Yes? Yes, Krishna's all-attractive feature is being described. Krishna's very, very attractive, his exquisite beauty. Right? That's one of Krishna's very special qualities. even Mahavishnu, even the Lord as Mahavishnu wants to see Krishna. Right? Do you know that pastime?
Yes, Maharaj.
What happened?
Actually, there was a poor Brahmin and he was basically challenging Arjun that he was basically whenever his wife was delivering a child, the child could not be traced out. So Arjun, because of his valor and his courage, he was boasting that, okay, this time I will put a fortress of arrows so that to see that nobody steals your child whenever he is born. But he was unsuccessful. So then Lord Krishna, he actually sympathized with Arjuna and took him to Mahavishnu, and Mahavishnu then later revealed that he wanted to have the darshan of Krishna. That is why he was stealing all the children, newborn children of Brahman.
Yes, right. Very good. Yes, you've got it, right. Mahavishnu wanted to see Krishna and Arjuna. He took away the kids. So even your Mahavishnu, even you're the Lord of Vaikuntha, he wants to see Krishna. All right? Text 17. Read.
The Lord is eternally very beautiful, and he is worshipable by all the inhabitants of every planet. He is ever youthful and always eager to bestow his blessings upon his devotees.
Right. He's ever youthful. Oh, that's very nice, huh? Must be nice. And he's worshipable by all the inhabitants of every planet. Even Lord Brahma, and the topmost planet in the universe, is worshipping Krishna. And Lord Shiva, they're powerful, the most powerful of the demigods. They chant the names of Krishna and they worship Krishna. And Lord Krishna's always youthful, and he gives blessings to his devotees. People like blessings. Right? If the deity is giving blessings, then they get many people come to the deity. So Krishna is always giving blessings. He likes to bless his devotees. But Krishna is cautious about what kind of blessings he will give to the devotees. Right? What kind of blessings? Will Krishna just give any material blessing to his devotee?
No, Maharaj.
What blessing will he give them?
So that they can advance in devotional service.
Right. He will give them the blessing to help them have more faith to come to Krishna. All right, text 18.
The glory of the Lord is always worth singing, for his glories enhance the glories of his devotees. One should therefore meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead and upon his devotees. One should meditate on the eternal form of the Lord until the mind becomes fixed.
Okay. I marked a little bit of the purport here. The same purpose is served when a devotee worships the form of the Lord in the temple. There is no difference between devotional service in the temple and meditation on the form of the Lord, since the form of the Lord is the same, whether he appears within the mind or in some concrete element. So we may question, what's better? Is it better to worship in the temple or better to worship within the mind? So there's different processes. All right, we'll go back to our slideshow. Let's see, okay. Okay, we covered these texts, text 18. The next step. Yes? list the 8 kinds of forms recommended for the devotees to see. So deity can be made from these different elements. 8 different elements which are allowed for making a deity from. Sand, clay, wood, stone. They may be contemplated within the mind. Jewels, metal, painted colors. All the forms are of the same value. So of course we have deities like Lord Jagannath. He's the Rudra Murti, right? The Rudra Murti, the form Daru Brahma, thank you, Prabhu, yeah. Daru Brahma, Daru Murti, or the form of Lord Jagannath in wood. And then we have deities in stone, like marble. We have many marble deities, particularly Radha Krishna. And then metal, we have brass deities, like Gornitai usually. And sometimes Radha Krishna, Panchatattva, they're made from the Asta metal, 8 metals mixed together. But deity can also be painted colors. You can paint pictures and worship that. It can be, and Krishna can appear there. But it can also be in the mind. Clay, we see a lot of the artisans here in Bengal, they make the deities of they make clay, they use clay to make different idols for Saraswati Puja or Kali Puja, Durga Puja. They will use clay to make the deity. So these different items are all authorized by the scriptures. Now, sometimes we do see that they do things, they use things like resin to make something. Now, resin, we don't see that here. You don't see, like you get things from China, they're made in China, resin dolls of Krishna. They're not really deities. People may use them, they may take them and put them on the altar and may worship them, but they're not the actual authorized deity form. It should be one of these 8 elements. Jewels. If you have some nice jewels, then it's possible also put the jewels in the form of a deity, or one big jewel or something may be carved as a deity. Okay? So these are the different elements which can be used for making deities.
Maharaj, may I ask a question?
Okay, go ahead.
Also today, sometimes I see deities made of fiberglass. So I believe that is also not in the recommended list.
Yeah, I don't see it here, do you? Yeah, fiberglass. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if fiberglass is some transformation of a mixture of some things together, maybe.
Yes, it is some industrial process. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we wouldn't use that as an authorized deity. You may use it yourself. You may like to use it yourself in your own home, but we wouldn't really have it installed in a temple, fiberglass. But you notice Prabhupada in the temple is different. When we put Prabhupada in the temple, actually when they put Prabhupada in the temple, they don't really do an installation like what we do for the deities. It's not like we put life into the murti of Prabhupada in the temple room, as we put life in the deities. We invite Krishna into the deities. We don't do that for Prabhupada, for the spiritual teachers. It's not like that. It's different.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, sorry, can I ask a quick question regarding that?
Okay.
I know here when they did an installation, when they brought Srila Prabhupada deity, they did an installation ceremony. Even every year on Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, a full Abhishek is done. So then, if life doesn't come into the deity of Prabhupada, so how do we understand that we can pray to the Srila Prabhupada deity, and how does the reciprocation then take place?
Well, just simply by the devotion of the devotees. It's not that, although of course we would do like that, we'd do the Abhishek, and certainly we'd say Prabhupada is there, but it's at the same time, there's a distinction, how that Prabhupada's sitting there, and he's sitting. Now Prabhupada on the altar is different. When you put Prabhupada on the altar there with the deities, that's going to be a different thing. But Prabhupada sitting outside in the temple room, the way I see it there is different. There's some difference there, the Prabhupada's outside sitting there in the temple room. It's not quite the same as on the altar. But I remember hearing from the devotees that they were talking about that when you put Prabhupada there, it's not like installing a deity. You don't have the installation thing the way we would for the deity. We invite Krishna to appear there. But Prabhupada would appear simply by our own devotion. We'll feel Prabhupada's presence there. Each and every individual devotee will feel the presence of Srila Prabhupada. And we offer our respects to Prabhupada, and we see Prabhupada there every day. We do the Guru Puja every day. We have the feeling, and that way it helps us to be conscious of Prabhupada. But there's some distinction between the spiritual teacher and the Supreme Lord. That you put the spiritual master out there in the temple room and put him on the Vyasasan, it's a different thing from having the deities on the altar. It's a different level. That was how I was told about it anyway, from people who are in deity worship. We can hear more about this from Janani Vas Prabhu. I will talk to him about this again, just to confirm that I heard right.
Thank you, Maharaj.
All right, so the chapter moves into contemplating the individual limbs of the Lord. And we begin from the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, right? So let's go through them together. We can go back to the text. Or maybe you like to do them yourself. We have 7 groups, right? And there are... Oh, what happened? Okay, so let's read the verses here. Text 19 says, thus always merged in devotional service, the yogi visualizes the Lord, standing, moving, laying down, or sitting within him. For the pastimes of the Supreme Lord are always beautiful and attractive. Text 20, in fixing his mind on the eternal form of the Lord, the yogi should not take a collective view of all his limbs, but should fix the mind on each individual limb of the Lord. All right, group number 1. Yes? Group number 1 will take the lotus feet. Group number 2 will take Above the lotus feet, we've got the ankles. Is it the ankles? The next, after the lotus feet are described, then we hear about the legs or thighs of the Lord. So that will be group number 2, the legs or thighs. And then text 24, that's the thighs. Then text 25, group number 3, we'll hear about the abdomen of the Lord. And then group number 4 will be the chest. After the abdomen comes the chest. And then meditate on the 4 arms. And then after the 4 arms, then you should contemplate the lotus-like face of the Lord. Then after contemplating the lotus face, we should contemplate the Lord's eyes. And then the smile of the Lord. And then the laughter of the Lord. All right, that takes you up to 33. So who's group number 1? Tell us about the Lord's lotus feet.
The Lord's soul is depicted with distinctive lines resembling the thunderbolt, a flag, a lotus flower, and a gourd. The luster of his toenails, which are brilliantly prominent, resembles the light of the moon. And if the yogi looks at the marks of the Lord's soul and on the blazing brilliance of his nails, then he can be freed from the darkness of ignorance in the material world. This liberation is not achieved by the mental speculation, but by seeing the light emanating from the lustrous toenails of the Lord. In other words, one can fix his mind first on the lotus feet of the Lord if he wants to be freed from the darkness of ignorance in material existence.
And what are they described? What's his special features of the Lord's lotus feet? How to recognize them?
Like a light, there is a light coming out of the nails of the Lord. That way.
There's light coming from where?
From, the light emanating from the lustrous toenails of the Lord.
Okay. But what if the Lord is not there? How will we... I don't know. Maybe he has slippers on. Does he wear slippers?
No, Maharaj.
Well, in Vaikuntha he wears slippers. In Goloka he doesn't wear slippers. But in Vaikuntha, the Lord of Vaikuntha will have slippers on. But in Goloka he doesn't have any slippers. So in Goloka, how did Akrura recognize the Lord? He saw the Lord's lotus footprints, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Maharaj.
And what was the special features of his footprints?
Special features.
There are different marks on his footprints.
Yes.
Yeah. The lotus and all.
Yeah, it's all auspicious markings. It's 19 different markings on his lotus feet. Auspicious items are all marked there. And so Akrura, somehow he could recognize the Lord's lotus footprints. And when he came to Vrindavan, he rolled in the dust and said, "This is the dust from the footprints of my master." And he was taking the dust all over his body. He said, this is the dust from the lotus feet of my master. It's so wonderful. So we're inspired. And we're told also something special about the Lord's lotus feet. The water which washes the lotus feet. Right? Text number 22.
Yes.
Right?
Holy water of Ganges.
Who takes the water which washes the Lord's lotus feet? Who takes that water?
Lord Shiva.
Where does he keep it?
On his head.
Yes. Lord Shiva takes the Lord's foot bath water on his head. Lord Shiva is the great Vaishnava, but he takes the water from the lotus feet of Krishna, places on his head. And then we're told also that the Lord's feet are like thunderbolts. Why?
They destroy the mountain of sins.
Yes, the mountain of sin in our heart. The thunderbolt smashes the mountain. So our mind is full of so many foolish thoughts. So the conclusion is one should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time. Very helpful. Who meditates on the Lord's lotus feet?
Lord Shiva? Or a devotee?
Yeah, which devotee? What's the first thing he did was meditate on the Lord's lotus feet? Savaimana Krishna Pararavindayoy. Who is it?
Ambarish Maharaj.
Yes, Ambarish Maharaj. The first thing he does, you know, Ambarish Maharaj does a lot of service. He uses all of his senses. But the first thing he's done, he fixes his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. So very nice for us. All right, let's hear about the thighs. Who's going to tell us about the thighs? Yes?
Text 24 is a description. It says that the Lord's eyes are the storehouse of energy. Lord's eyes are blue, whitish blue, like luster of linseed flower, and appear most graceful when the Lord is carried on the shoulders of Garuda.
There's also a description in text 23. It describes that Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is always...
I'm sorry, you're breaking up there. I don't know if I have a reception problem.
Okay. Can you hear me? Hare Krishna?
Yes, Maharaj, we are able to hear you.
Okay, so text 23 says, Lakshmi is always found massaging the legs and the thighs of the Transcendental Lord, very carefully serving him in this way. And so she is the mother of the Supreme Person. She is worshipped by all the demigods and is the mother of the Supreme Person Brahma. But she's always found massaging the legs and thighs of the Supreme Lord. Okay, then, right? Okay, going ahead, text 25. We hear about the abdomen of the Lord. What are some special features about the Lord's abdomen?
His abdomen brought Brahma here from the lotus flower.
Yes, right. That's the right point. Yeah, the lotus flower, the residence of Brahma, comes from the abdomen of the Lord.
Also, the abdomen is the foundation of all
I'm sorry, Mariji, your voice is not clear. Can you speak up and clearly?
Abdomen is foundation of all planetary systems.
Foundation of the entire universe. Okay, we'll go ahead. Then the chest of the Lord. The abode of the chest of the Lord is the abode of Goddess Mahalakshmi. The Lord's chest is the source of all pleasure for the mind, full of satisfaction for the eyes. The yogi should imprint on his mind the neck of the Lord. The neck of the Lord serves to enhance the beauty of the Kaustubha gem, which hangs on his chest. So the Lord's beauty makes the Kaustubha gem more beautiful. Not that the Kaustubha gem makes Krishna more beautiful, but Krishna makes the Kaustubha gem more beautiful. Then 27. The yogi should meditate on the Lord 4 arms, the source of all power of the demigods, who control the various functions of material nature. The yogi should concentrate on the polished ornaments, burnished by mandara as it revolves. He should also contemplate the Lord's discus, the Sudarshan Chakra, which contains 1,000 spokes and a dazzling luster, as well as the conch, which looks like a swan in his lotus-like palm. So these are all descriptions how we should contemplate the different limbs of the Lord. Then we hear the Lord's club, Komadaki. It's very dear to him, and it smashes the demons. So it's smeared with blood. One should also concentrate on the nice garland on the neck of the Lord, always surrounded by bumblebees with their nice buzzing sound. And one should meditate on the pearl necklace on the Lord's neck, which is considered to represent the pure living entities who are always engaged in his service. Okay, you got that? We should meditate upon the pearl necklace on the Lord's neck. It represents the living entities, pure living entities who are engaged in his service. Then the countenance of the Lord, who presents his different forms in this world out of compassion for the anxious devotees. His nose is prominent, his crystal clear cheeks are illuminated by the oscillation of his glittering alligator-shaped earrings. So alligator-shaped earrings, very complete description. What is being described? Which particular form of the Lord are we hearing about? Yes, right. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, the Paramatma is being described. The yogi meditates upon the beautiful face of the Lord, which is adorned with curly hair, decorated by lotus eyes and dancing eyebrows. A lotus surrounded by swarming bees and a pair of swimming fish would be put to shame by its elegance. Now, in the material world, we'd think that's very beautiful. A lotus flower surrounded by swarming bees and a pair of swimming fish. We'd think, oh, how nice. People draw pictures like that. But who's being described like this? The Supreme Lord. The Lord's face is like a lotus, and the two fish are like his two eyes. And the bees are like his curly hair.
Maharaj, could you please repeat? I was not able to understand properly. You said that these are like the eyes.
Uh-huh. Wait, let's see. Prabhupada writes here at the end of the purport, there are two comparisons in this verse. First, the Lord's face is compared to lotus, and then his black hair is compared to humming bees swarming around the lotus, and his two eyes are compared to two fish swimming about. A lotus flower on the water is very beautiful when surrounded by humming bees and fish. The Lord's face is self-sufficient and complete. His beauty defies the natural beauty of a lotus. Have you got it, Prabhu?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. And then, after contemplating the Lord's face, the Lord's eyes, the compassionate glance frequently cast by the Lord's eyes, for they soothe the most fearful threefold agonies of his devotees. His glances, accompanied by loving smiles, are full of abundant grace. This is beautiful descriptions of Lord Krishna's eyes and how Krishna smiles at the devotees. Prabhupada writes in the purport, one cannot avoid the influence of material energy, even when one is on the transcendental plane. Sometimes disturbances come, but the agonies and anxieties of the devotees are at once mitigated when they think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his beautiful form or the smiling face of the Lord. The Lord bestows innumerable favors upon his devotee, and the greatest manifestation of his grace is his smiling face, which is full of compassion for his pure devotees. So the greatest manifestation is the smile from Krishna, right? When you see Krishna, we hope he's smiling. We hope he's smiling at you. We hope he's not frowning, right? He should be smiling. That's the blessing. And then we're told to meditate on the smile of the Lord. A smile for all those who bow to him dries away the ocean of tears caused by intense grief. And then the eyebrows, we can meditate on the Lord's eyebrows, which are manifested by his internal potency in order to charm the sex god for the good of the sages. We should read about that. The second paragraph, it is stated in this verse that the charming eyebrows of the Lord are so fascinating that they cause one to forget the charm of sense attraction. The conditioned souls are shackled to material existence because they are captivated by the charms of sense gratification, especially sex life. The sex god is called Makara Dwaja, the charming brows of the Supreme Personality of Godhead protect the sages and devotees from being charmed by material lust and sex attraction. Yamunacharya, a great acharya, said that ever since he had seen the charming pastimes of the Lord, the charms of sex life had become abominable for him, and the mere thought of sex enjoyment would cause him to spit and turn his face. Thus, if anyone wants to be aloof from sex attraction, he must see the charming smile and fascinating eyebrows of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, very important paragraph there, a lot of valuable information from Prabhupada. And then the laughter of Lord Vishnu. The laughter is so captivating, it can easily be meditated upon. Once devoting his mind to this, the yogi should no longer desire to see anything else. You just want to see Krishna. You don't want to see anything else. All right, that's a description. Excuse me.
Maharaj, may I ask one question?
Yes?
Actually, the form of Paramatma is similar to the form of Krishna, because Krishna has two hands in Golok Vrindavan, and in Vaikuntha he is four-handed. So it is the same form of Paramatma in Vaikuntha, it is same or different, Maharaj?
The form of Paramatma is the same as Krishna in Vaikuntha.
Okay, Maharaj.
But, of course, doesn't have the same power. Form of Paramatma is in the material world. He's the expansion of the expansion, right? Although the form, we said the form can be the same, but it doesn't mean he has all the powers of the Supreme Lord of Vaikuntha. Paramatma, well, who is Paramatma? The Lord in the heart. He's a Purusha. He's Shirodakashai Vishnu.
Yes, Maharaj.
So, like that, he's Vishnu. He's here in the material world. He doesn't go to the spiritual world.
Maharaj, sorry, a quick question on that, if it's okay.
Yeah?
So, the Paramatma, which is the four-arm form, Shirodakshaya Vishnu, for the devotee, at what point is that transformed to the two-arm form of Krishna in the heart?
The devotee what?
So at the moment, Shirodakshaya Vishnu is the super soul in our heart. But for a devotee practicing devotional service, at what point does that four-arm form transform to the two-arm form?
Yes. Yeah, for the devotee, Krishna's in the heart, right?
Yes.
For the devotee, Krishna's in the heart. Two-arm form. You see Krishna in the heart. At what point does that happen? I don't know. I've never had any information on that. We can try to find that out. Interesting point.
Thank you, Maharaj. It will be appreciated.
Maharaj, can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, so you mean to say that Shirodakshaya Vishnu is Paramatma?
Yes. Yes.
And Krishna is in Golok Dham.
Yes.
And he is superior to Shirodakshaya Vishnu.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
And the Kshirodakshayi, he's the Purusha avatar. He's from the expansion, but Krishna is the original Supreme Lord.
Yes, Maharaj.
All right? So we're told, in the course of his progress of devotional service, the hairs of the body stand on end, ecstasy, right? And constantly bathed in a stream of tears, bhava. Gradually, even the mind, which he used as a means to attract the Lord, as one attracts a fish to a hook, withdraws from material activity. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't you be happy? Your mind withdraws from material activity. Gradually, the mind withdraws from material activity because we're contemplating the Lord. We're contemplating the different limbs of the Lord. We become so absorbed that we forget about the mind. Prabhupada explains, here it is clearly mentioned that meditation, which is an action of the mind, is not the perfect stage of samadhi or absorption. In the beginning, the mind is employed in attracting the form of the Lord. But in the higher stages, there is no question of using the mind. A devotee becomes accustomed to serving the Lord by purification of his senses. In other words, the yoga principles of meditation are required as long as one is not situated in pure devotional service. The mind is used to purify the senses, but when the senses are purified by meditation, there is no need to sit in a particular place and try to meditate upon the form of the Lord. One becomes so habituated that he automatically engages in the personal service of the Lord. When the mind forcibly is engaged upon the form of the Lord, this is called nirbija yoga, or lifeless yoga. For the yogi does not automatically engage in the personal service of the Lord. But when he is constantly thinking of the Lord, that is called sabija yoga, or living yoga. One has to be promoted to the platform of living yoga. Right? This is an important point, the difference, the sabija yoga and nirbija yoga. One is lifeless yoga and the other is living yoga. Sabija, with life, living yoga. And so you don't, you're doing service for Krishna automatically. It's not just depending on the mind, but automatically you just think about Krishna. Okay, so the stage of Premanjana Charita can be attained by developing complete love. When love for the Supreme Lord in devotional service is fully developed, one always sees the Lord, even without artificially meditating on his form. His vision is divine. So here you are, the answer to your question, Prabhu. So when you develop love, then we'll actually see Krishna in the heart. When we have developed that complete love, then the Vishnu won't be in the heart anymore. We'll see Krishna there.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
Otherwise, we're meditating. We meditate on the form of the Lord. His vision is divine because he has no other engagement. This stage of spiritual realization, it is not necessary to engage the mind artificially. The meditation recommended in the lower stages is a means to the platform of devotional service. Those already engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord are above such meditation. This stage of perfection is called Krishna consciousness. we're trying to become devotees. Prabhupada would often remind us, we're trying to become devotees. It's not such an easy thing to become a devotee. We're trying to become devotees. Right? Let's go back to the PowerPoint here. Okay, here's the lotus feet of the Lord. You recognize them? Have you seen them before?
Yes, Maharaj.
Madhava, yes. Okay. Someone like to read this for me?
List reasons why the process of hearing and chanting and fixing the mind on the pastimes of the Lord is superior to meditation on the Lord. The only difference is that hearing and fixing the mind on the pastimes of the Lord is easier than visualizing the form of the Lord within one's heart, because as soon as one begins to think of the Lord, especially in this age, the mind becomes disturbed. And due to such agitation, the process of seeing the Lord within the mind is interrupted. For example, even a child can hear and derive the benefit of meditating on the pastimes of the Lord simply by listening to a reading from the Bhagavatam that describes the Lord as he is going to the pasturing ground with his cows and friends.
All right. And so what's easier? Obviously, chanting. Children can also hear about the Lord's pastimes. They can hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, and they can relish Lord Krishna's pastimes. Someone else read?
In this age of Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya has recommended that one should always engage in chanting and hearing Bhagavad Gita. The Lord also says that the Mahatmas or great souls always engage in the process of chanting the glories of the Lord. Just by hearing, others derive the same benefit.
Yeah. All reasons why better to chant than to just meditate. Okay, someone read this about the lotus feet.
Importance of meditation on the Lord's lotus feet. Another significant point of this verse is that the mind of the conditioned soul, on account of its association with the material energy from time immemorial, contains heaps of dirt in the form of desires to lord it over material nature. This dirt is like a mountain, but a mountain can be shattered when hit by a thunderbolt. Meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord acts like a thunderbolt on the mountain of dirt in the mind of the yogi. 3.28.22 purport.
Yeah, when we go to see Radha Madhava, we see in front of the altar, we see the Lord's lotus feet. So we're encouraged to meditate on the Lord's lotus feet. We can see the different markings all there on the Lord's lotus feet there in the temple, in front of the deities. And the idea is we should meditate on the Lord's lotus feet. And that will make us able to proper appreciate the form of the Lord. All right? Someone like to read this?
Sorry, Maharaj, can I ask a question regarding the other slide on the hearing and meditating on the Lord's pastimes?
Okay.
So, on the Paramahamsa stage, one is constantly meditating on the pastimes of the Lord. So at that stage, are they not chanting? Are they just meditating on the pastimes of the Lord? Obviously, the chanting brings you to that stage.
Well, you never stop chanting. Even you may come to Paramahansa stage, doesn't mean you stop chanting. Mahatmas, it says here, Mahatmas, great soul, always engage in the process of chanting. Right?
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Chanting is the means, and chanting is the goal. There's nothing, there's nothing after chanting. It's not that you chant to the point and then, oh, now I stop chanting because my chanting's pure. No. You keep chanting. You'll chant more. If your chanting is good, you'll chant more. You want to chant more. We never give up chanting. There's nothing beyond chanting. We never stop chanting. Okay, then meditation and temple worship. Please read. Chandrika, read.
The Lord's transcendental form can either be meditated upon in the mind or placed in a temple in the form of a statue and decorated in such a way that everyone can contemplate it. Temple worship, therefore, is meant for persons who are not so advanced that they can meditate upon the form of the Lord. There is no difference between constantly visiting the temple and directly seeing the transcendental form of the Lord. They are of equal value.
Okay. Yeah. So all the acharyas, they established deities, and they also worship the deities. We see Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they all have their deities. Now they were doing deity worship. They didn't give up deity worship. They established deities. Yes? Bhakti yogis. Yogis take advantage of the process of smaranam, whereas bhakti yogis take special advantage of the process of hearing and chanting. From the purport, text number 26. Yeah, hearing and chanting is the foundation of our bhakti yoga process. Of course, it said when we do the chanting properly, then where there is pure chanting, then there will also be smaranam. And sometimes Prabhupada would compare Astanga Yoga to Bhakti Yoga. He would say that the Astanga Yoga process, the seventh stage is dhyana, meditation. That's the seventh step, right? Pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So dhyana is the seventh stage. But he said in Bhakti Yoga, dhyana, that is the third stage, smaranam. So we also do remembering, we also do hearing and chanting. Comes naturally. Where there is pure chanting, there will also be remembering and hearing. Okay? Agonies and anxieties mitigated. As long as one is in conditional life, in the material body, it is natural that he will suffer from anxieties and agonies. One cannot avoid the influence of material energy. Even when one is on the transcendental plane, sometimes disturbances come. But the agonies and anxieties of the devotees are at once mitigated when they think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His beautiful form, or the smiling face of the Lord. Right? Who is this smiling face of the Lord here? Who is it?
Lord Radha Madhav, Lord Krishna.
Is it Madhav?
No, Shyam Sundar.
Yeah, I don't think it's Madhav, yeah.
This is Radha Shyam
Sundar.
Vrindavan.
Yeah, Shyam Sundar.
Yes. Yes. So when we see the deities, we're in anxiety, we have agony, so yeah, it's natural. Just go and see the deities and chant, and we'll forget them, all the anxiety. The Lord bestows innumerable favors upon His devotees, And the greatest manifestation of his grace is his smiling face, full of compassion for his pure devotees. We read that already, yeah? But an important point. Text 32. The entire universe is full of miseries, and therefore the inhabitants of this material universe are always shedding tears out of intense grief. There is a great ocean of water made from such tears. But for one who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ocean of tears is at once dried up. One need only see the charming smile of the Supreme Lord. In other words, the bereavement of material existence immediately subsides when one sees the charming smile of the Lord. We just need to see Krishna smile. I hope we can see Krishna smile. We have to please Krishna, we have to surrender. Mentioned here, one who surrenders, then the ocean of tears is dried up. All right? Someone like to read this final section for us, bit by bit?
Lord Kapila continues to respond to devotee in 3.27.20 about how the soul is bound and freed. 34. The yogi's experience. One develops love of God. 35. Material mind destroyed. 36. Soul devoid of material covering. 37. Because he achieved his real identity, he acts totally unaware of his body. 38. The body of such a liberated yogi is taken charge by the Lord. 39. He understands he is different from his body. 40 to 41. Bhagavan is different from the jiva. 42. Sees the supersoul in all beings and all beings in the supersoul. 43. The pure soul manifests in different bodies. 44. Conquering unsurmountable Maya, he is self-realized. After conquering unsurmountable Maya, he is self-realized. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Maraji. So, self-realization. You want to be self-realized? We have to conquer Maya. So, these are some of the stages. This is the stages of which the yogi goes through in the practice of this Sankhya Yoga to come to the stage of self-realization. Prabhupada describes, Arjuna dovetailed his mind with Krishna's desire. This is called oneness. This oneness, however, did not cause Arjuna and Krishna to lose their individualities. The Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this. They think oneness necessitates loss of individuality. Actually, however, we find in Bhagavad Gita that individuality is not lost. When the mind is completely purified in love of Godhead, the mind becomes the mind of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is love, that's love of God. When we're actually in love of God, then our mind will become the mind of Krishna. In other words, we'll have no separate desire from Krishna. We'll simply desire as Krishna desires, dovetailing our mind with Krishna's desire. Okay? The yogi views his body. Someone read? Who's not read? Somebody can read?
Because, can I read, Maharaj?
Yeah, please.
Because he has achieved his real identity, the perfectly realized soul, has no conception of how the material body is moving or acting. Just as an intoxicated person cannot understand whether or not he has clothing on his body. The body of such a liberated yogi, along with the senses, is taken charge of by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it functions until its destined activities are finished. The liberated devotee, being awake to his constitutional position and thus situated in Samadhi, the highest perfectional stage of yoga, does not accept the byproducts of the material body as his own. Thus he considers his bodily activities to be like the activities of a body in a dream.
Thank you, Prabhu. So the byproducts of the material body, the byproducts is mentioned again. The highest perfectional stage of yoga does not accept the byproducts of the body as his own. Well, he has the yoga powers, but he's not interested. He's a liberated soul. He's in his constitutional position. So he considers the body to be just like in a dream. He's not even aware that he has clothing on his body. We hear about Atmaramas, self-realized souls like Sukadeva Goswami. He was walking everywhere naked. And similarly, Rishabdev, these kind of people, they were totally detached from the material body, like an intoxicated person. They cannot understand. All right, Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. The blazing fire is different from the flames, from the sparks, and from the smoke, although all are intimately connected because they are born from the same blazing wood. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Param Brahm, is the seer. He is different from the Jiva soul or individual living entity, who is combined with the senses, 5 elements, and consciousness. So the Lord is like the blazing fire, and the living entity, the Jiva, they're like sparks coming from the fire. So the living entity is not like the fire. The spark is not equal to the fire. And then you have the smoke also coming from the fire. The smoke is like the material elements, the 5 elements, the senses. So they all come from the same blazing wood. Everything comes from the blazing fire, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything comes from the Parabrahman. But there's different elements. There's the senses, the elements, the consciousness. Everything's coming from Parabrahman. Just like from the fire, everything's coming. Smoke, sparks, flames. So from the one Supreme Lord, everything is coming. The living entities, all the material energy, material prakriti, it's all his prakriti. Right? So Achintya Beda Beda Tattva, one and different. One with the Lord, but different from it. The Lord's energy. Here's the illustration. A yogi should see the same soul in all manifestations, for all that exists is a manifestation of different energies of the Supreme. In this way, the devotee should see all living entities without distinction. That is realization of the Supreme Soul. As fire is exhibited in different forms of wood, so, under different condition of the modes of material nature, the pure spirit soul manifests itself in different bodies. And the final verse, overcoming the material energy. Overcoming the material energy. Thus the yogi can be in the self-realized position after conquering the insurmountable spell of Maya, who presents herself as both the cause and effect of this material manifestation, and is therefore very difficult to understand. Prabhupada explains, the external energy of the Supreme Lord is durvibhavya, very difficult to understand, very difficult to conquer. One must, however, conquer this insurmountable spell of Maya. And this is possible by the grace of the Lord. For those who engage in devotional service, there is no spell of Maya, and their situation is all perfect. The duty of the living entity, as part and parcel of the whole, is to render devotional service to the whole. That is the ultimate perfection of life. From the final text of chapter 28, text 44, purport. All right, are there any questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu.
Maharaj, yesterday you mentioned about the principal yoga incarnation in the Satyug. You mentioned that there are talks of Karbhajan Muni to Nimi Maharaj.
Yes.
In Canto 11, I looked into it, but only the color of the yoga incarnation, principal incarnation of Satyug is described as white color, but the name is not mentioned, though the names for Treta Yuga and Dwapar and Kali Yuga are mentioned separately. However, for Satyug I am unable to find. So will it be possible for you to kindly help me?
Yes, I'll look for them next week.
Thank you, Maharaj. And our CBA will be on next Sunday, Maharaj?
Sorry?
Our CBA will be on next Sunday.
Oh, really?
No, actually I am just asking because only one chapter is left in this unit.
Yeah, but we have chapters to do to finish the Kapila Siksha. There's more chapters in Kapila Siksha.
Oh, there will be one CBA for unit 13 and 14?
I'll have to ask Padma Sundari.
Yeah, because then only one chapter is left in unit 13.
Yes, only one chapter left, but then we have 3 or 4 chapters there to finish the 3rd canto.
I believe that if unit 13 is getting over on Saturday, then CBA will be on Sunday.
Oh, really? I don't know. I'll have to ask her.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
And then she will contact you and tell all of you. I'll have her contact the group and say what the program is. Because she didn't tell me anything, and she's not here because she's sick in Chennai. Yes, her husband's supposed to be here. But I don't know. He hasn't contacted me.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Oh, you're
Maharaj,
there?
communicate to her actually. She's a little bit okay. So probably tomorrow onwards she may be okay. So I'll communicate to her actually.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay. Any other questions, Prabhus? Okay, then we'll finish there then. And we'll see you next week. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki.